Chris Graham here for Trailblazer RV, and today I'm going to take you through a new RV orientation on this 2007 Triple E Topaz 305 RLXL. Let's start right at the RV battery. The battery has its own little compartment here. It's your CH751 key. To open that up, battery can slide out for easy access. So this is a 12 volt deep cycle RV marine battery with two leads coming off of it. Red is positive, black is negative. So red to the positive terminal, black to the negative terminal. And with a flooded wet cell RV battery, there is some periodic maintenance to be done here. Once a year or twice as you put away your RV for the winter and get it out in the spring, we recommend you remove these two caps and just check the level of water in the 6 cells that you'll find in here. If one of the cells seems to be a little bit low, particularly if you can see metal plates through any of the liquid, top it up with some distilled water and put a good charge on the battery. We also recommend removing the battery from the RV for winter storage, storing it inside somewhere where it's not going to freeze, preferably not on a concrete surface. Next to the battery compartment is your front storage. Latch the door open with a little clip right here. This one has a pull-out cargo tray. This can slide out either side. Really handy cargo tray. And here you can see your some different crank handles that you've got here. The small one here is for your stabilizer jacks at the back of the trailer. The next one is for your spare tire. Should you ever have to crank down your spare tire, it's undermounted. I'll show you where that is in a few minutes. This is a manual crank for your front landing legs. They're power landing legs. Hopefully you'll never have to use this, but you have it in the event of a mechanical failure or a electrical shortage. And this is the pull rod for your awning. And that's maybe a good place to go to next, is the awning. Just slide that back in. It's locked into place when this handle flips up. This is the A&E manual style awning. So pretty easy to operate once you've done it a couple of times. I'll take you through the steps. First thing that you want to do is release the arm lock there. There's also a little nut that needs to be loosened off here. So we'll do that at both arms, front and rear. Release the lock, loosen the nut. From there, you'll use the awning pull rod to move the awning position from roll up to roll down, just like so. And there is often a little pull cable, but it may have gotten wound up inside the awning this time. There it is. This is the trickiest part of a manual awning. And I only make it look harder than it is. Now you can pull the awning down. We've recently washed the RV, so there's some water in the awning. It's always a good idea after a rainstorm or after washing your awning, when you get home, open the awning up and let it dry out. It's good to put it away dry rather than wet. So once you've extended the awning, move the rafters up into place and tighten down the tension knob. When I do that, I like to put just a little bit of weight on this arm to make sure it's nice and tight. Do that on both sides. After you've tightened the canvas, you can pull these two handles to lift the awning up into position. Couple of things to note with this style of awning. You can tip one corner down to control where the rainwater runs off. We always recommend, usually the side further from the door, drop it down a couple of holes so that the rain runs off. The other thing that I recommend is if you have young kids around the awning, you can put a little clip or a bolt through this hole here. If anyone were to pull up on that handle, the awning can come crashing down. But if you have some type of a stopper in that hole, it'll keep the awning from crashing. At that point, I like to take the pull cable and just tie it off to the arm. Let's leave that awning out while we finish around the trailer, and we'll put it away when we come back so it can dry out. Here at the front of the fifth wheel, the previous owner installed this tray. It was most likely for a generator, but we've left it in so you can pull this out and set the padding here so that you can carry a portable generator and run it there, or any other larger device, right down to lawn chairs or folding tables. The previous owner did a really nice job of installing that. And this is your propane system. These are dual 30-pound propane tanks. These are brand new or very new. Propane tanks have a 10-year lifespan before they need to be recertified or replaced. And it looks like we've put brand new tanks in here rather than recertifying tanks. You have an automatic switchover propane regulator. So both of these tanks are full right now, and you can see a little red indicator there. As I open the valve, that red indicator is going to go from red to green, showing that there's propane flowing. What I recommend is you open both valves, then the RV will deplete the supply bottle first, and then automatically start to pull from the reserve bottle. When that happens, this indicator will turn from green to red, and you can switch the regulator over, pull the first bottle off to refill it, but without ever shutting down your propane system. So leave those open so that we can demonstrate some things inside. Right here is your power landing gear switch, so you can extend and retract your landing legs. Previous owner installed a couple of levels there as well, so you can tell when your trailer's level. With this landing gear switch, important to note that there's a safety cutoff for that right inside the storage compartment. So you can shut off power to your jack switch, and that's behind the locking door, so just for a little extra security. Right here is your city water connection for the RV. We recommend, if you're hooking up a hose to operate the RV from a pressured water system, to use a water pressure regulator to maintain proper RV pressure in your water lines. And this is your utility shower. Pretty simple hot and cold water. It'll extend to about this height, or it can attach right here for hands-free. Don't forget to winterize this. We replace a lot of these in the spring because people forget to run antifreeze. Should you ever need to, you can manually crank your front landing gear from here. You do that with that long handle that I pointed out on the other side. Slide out this way as well. I've also stowed the park adapter here in the tray. This is what you'll use to plug your 30 amp power cord into 50 amp residential style. Here is your Santee flush system. This is a flush for your black holding tank. So when you're dumping your holding tanks, hook a hose up to this. It'll spray off the inside walls of the tank and help keep your monitor panel reading properly. Next to that is your hot water tank. This is the Atwood hot water tank. So it has a plug right underneath here. You can pull that plug to drain the tank in the winter when you go to winterize the RV. There's no anode rod on this tank. A lot of RVs have anode rods. This is just simply a plug. The lining of this tank doesn't require an anode. It's a direct spark ignition hot water tank, so your burner will light inside here, but no need to worry yourself with a pilot light. Other thing in this hot water tank, before you pull that plug to drain the system, make sure you pull the pressure relief valve to bleed the pressure off of the system. Sewer hose is stored right here. This used to have a door, but this component is no longer available. So the previous owner just added a little sewer hose catch. We thought that was a pretty ingenious solution to the problem, so we left it in place, but we did put a brand new 20-foot medium heavy duty sewer hose in there. Your holding tank valves are accessible from right here. So the valves themselves are up inside the heated and enclosed area, but the handles are accessible here. With this trailer you have one black valve and two gray valves. The black valve is your sewer. You should always dump that one first. And the gray valves are your sink and shower water and your separate kitchen galley tank. So when you go to dump your holding tanks, hook the sewer hose up to here. Other end goes into the ground. Dump the black first. Once it's finished draining, close the valve. Pull the two gray valves and let that gray water flush out the sewer hose, make for a little more pleasant putting away of your sewer hose. The slide out is a rack and pinion slide out mechanism. Nice and simple operation. I'll show you that from the inside. We do recommend occasional lubricating of the slide out components. If you're going to lubricate the slide out components, make sure you use a proper slide lube, graphite or a Teflon slide lube, rather than just a WD-40 or something like that. Something to make sure that it's not going to gum up that slide mechanism with dust and road grime. Stabilizer jacks here at the back. Once you've got the RV set in place and leveled, you'll want to run the stabilizer jacks down just to be snug with the ground. They're just to take some of the movement out of the RV, but are not actually for leveling, so you shouldn't ever try to lift the RV with those. And right here is your potable water. So this is just a gravity fill into your fresh tank. You can fill that with a garden hose, or more appropriately, we would recommend one of those white drinking water specific hoses. That way you don't get the garden hose plasticky taste in your water. Cable TV inlet there if you're staying at a park that has cable hookups. And this is your 30 amp power cord. So a lot of RVs, parks that you stay at will have 30 amp service, some don't. That's why we've included that 15 amp park adapter as well, so you can plug it into a normal household 15 amp power outlet. Around the back there's a roof ladder. We do recommend getting up on the roof a couple of times a year just to visually inspect your roof seals. It's a full walk-on roof. You can't harm it by walking around up there. And you'll just want to inspect for any seals that are showing excessive cracking or anywhere on the membrane that might have been torn by a tree branch or something like that. If you have just minor cracking to your roof seals, you can patch it with some die-core roof sealant. Make sure you use the proper sealant for the roof. If the cracking is excessive, you'll want to pull up all of that sealant, all of that die-core, and replace it. We consider that regular maintenance of an RV, but it's something that only has to happen every 8 or 10 years or so. Back around to the front of the trailer. Steps, roll and flip. Flip and roll. Right here is the crank to crank down your spare tire. You have a special crank for that in the front storage compartment. And here at the running gear, just a couple of things we like to point out there. We've torqued your wheel nuts to 100 foot-pounds, and we do recommend retorquing your wheel nuts periodically. If you don't have a torque wrench, just good and tight, but there are torqued to 100 foot-pounds now. And the air pressure, the tire pressure is set to I speculate 80 psi, 85. Set to 85 psi, and it's stamped right on the side, 85 psi cold. Go ahead and run your tires right at 85 psi. Here you've got exhaust for your furnace. There's some access to the back of the furnace for repair work there if need be, but mostly just be aware that this gets very hot. So if you have kids around the RV, make sure they're aware not to go near that. And above that is your fridge vent. You can remove this for some periodic cleaning and stuff, but again, mostly just venting. There's a intake here and an exhaust vent on the roof for the fridge. And right underneath here, you have your propane quick connect. If you have some propane appliances like a low pressure RV cooktop or camp stove, you can hook up to there with the quick connect. We'll move inside right away, but before we do that, let's put the awning away as the wind's picking up a little bit and it's had sufficient time to dry now. I'm kind of repeating what I said here, only in reverse, but you go to lower your awning down, drop the arms down one at a time. Loosen this off. Release that. And while ensuring that you have the strap in your hand as well as the rod, back to the roll up position. The awning's under its own tension, so you don't have to push it, it'll roll up on its own. Use the rod to fold the awning all the way up, and we'll make sure we leave that pull strap nice and accessible for the next guy. Lock the awning arms in place and tighten the tension knob. Make that's about it around the outside. If you want to follow me inside. So here we are inside of the 2007 Topaz 305 RLXL. And the first thing that I want to show you is right at the entry door here. There's several controls here. First is your slide out. Really simple operation. It's electric rack and pinion. Press out to go out, press in to come in. Maybe we'll do that as we finish the orientation. Below that is your monitor panel. So you can test all of your levels here. You can see that your battery is completely charged. Your freshwater tank is currently 2/3 full. We probably had it full, but we did some testing of the water system and probably used about 1/3 of the tank. And your black, gray, and galley tanks are all reading empty. You can also activate your water pump from here. You can hear that pump come on and kick in as it pressurizes the system. And it's going to continue running. I think it's filling the hot water tank right now because we had no pressure in the hot water tank. Below the monitor panel is your thermostat. So this controls both the heating and cooling for the RV. We're not plugged into 110 volt power right now, so I won't be able to actually demonstrate the air conditioning. You do need to be plugged into power for the air conditioning to run. The furnace though, if we set it down to furnace and set the temperature, you hear the fan come on, and it'll be about 10 or 15 seconds before the burner itself actually lights. And we should be able to hear that if we listen. There we go. You heard that ticking sound, that was the burner igniter. So now in a couple of seconds we'll have warm air coming from these vents. When you go to shut off the furnace, or it reaches its temperature, exactly the opposite happens. So if we turn it off, the burner goes out immediately, but the fan's going to run for another 30 seconds to a minute just to go through its cycle before it shuts down completely. On the cooling side, on the air conditioning, you actually have 2 fan speeds, high and low. That doesn't apply to the furnace. The furnace has only 1 fan speed. Below that, you've got some light switches. Interior lights is for your main 12 volt lights here in the living area, and then you've got right porch, left porch, and floodlight up at the front of the RV. So these 3 are all outside. At the oven, we've got a 3-burner propane stovetop with piezo igniter. See all 3 of those work. That's also a good way to bleed air off of the propane system. When you replace the propane tanks, the first thing you should do is come to the oven, open up the burners to bleed the air off the system. Once you can light those burners, you know you've bled the air off the system. The rest of your appliances will work. The only pilot light that you have to worry about in the RV is for the oven. So underneath here, you'll see here you've got a knob for the pilot light. Turn it over to pilot on. You have to push in on that knob. Push in and hold. And you'll light your pilot right here. Once you can see a flame at that pilot light, continue holding the knob in for 10 or 15 seconds while the flame sensor heats up. And then you can turn the oven to whatever temperature you desire. When you're finished using the oven, you can turn it down to pilot on, and the pilot will stay on for the next time you're ready to use it, or you can simply turn it right off. Venture a guess that in about 14 years, no one's actually used that oven. So, at the fridge, it's an 8 cubic foot Dometic fridge, and it is fully automatic, so it can run on electricity or propane, but the best thing to do there is just leave it on automatic. So if you turn it on and set to automatic, you can see the little light comes on there next to auto. If it has electricity available, it will always run on that. But if you blow a breaker or the trailer comes unplugged and you're unaware, it'll automatically switch over and run on propane so you don't lose the food in the fridge. You can override the automatic to only run on propane. Some situations where you might want to do that is if you're plugged into a weak breaker and you're worried about throwing the breaker, you can run the fridge on propane only. Or if you're trying to cool the fridge down faster, you might find that it actually cools faster running on propane than electricity. Having said that, it takes several hours to cool a gas electric RV fridge. Best thing is to set the fridge cooling the day before you load up to go camping so that it's nice and cold when you load your food. TV and stereo DVD player are probably pretty self-explanatory. They also require 110 volt power, so I can't demonstrate them at the moment where we're not plugged into power. Down below the oven, a couple of important things. This is your propane leak detector. So this will actually serve two purposes. Obviously it'll alert you to a potential propane leak, but you will most likely smell the propane before the propane detector would alert you to a leak. All the same, treat it with respect if you hear the propane alarm going off. More likely though, what the problem would be is a low voltage problem. Just like a smoke detector in your home when its batteries get low, if the RV battery gets low, this will alarm for a low voltage. So most of the time when you hear your propane detector go off, it's actually alerting you to a low voltage problem rather than a propane problem. Next to that is your power converter. This is the electrical center for the RV. You can see that all of your 110 volt circuits are on breakers here, and all of your 12 volt circuits protected by fuses. It's not an uncommon thing in an RV to blow a fuse occasionally, so we do recommend that you have some spare fuses on hand. You can see mostly 15 amp fuses there, and you've got a couple of 30s as well. So have some spare 15 and 30 amp fuses on hand. Up onto the bath deck, you have your fantastic vent control here. So that is for the fan right above our head. You can see power, raise, and lower. And then a simple on-off switch for the fan. The fan does actually have 3 speeds. I'll leave it on speed 1 for now, and we'll lower that vent back down. In the master bedroom, there's some storage underneath the main bed. And here at the vanity, there's a power outlet that's a GFCI power outlet, a ground fault circuit interrupter. It's the same as the ones in the bathroom in your house with a test and reset button on it. The difference being in an RV, that's wired in series with your entire 110 volt plug system. So if you trip that breaker, you'll lose power to all of your 110 volt power outlets. If you're ever plugged into power and you're wondering why you don't get any power from your outlets, come here, press reset. Most likely everything will go back to normal. And here in the bathroom, we have a second fantastic vent, same as the other one. I won't demonstrate it again. And your toilet here. So when you're using the RV's sewer system, you want to make sure and use a good toilet chemical here. You can get toilet chemical in powder, liquid, or tablet form. We carry all 3 at Trailblazer. When you go to put a toilet chemical charge in your tank, open up a package of toilet chemical, pour it into the bowl, use the foot flush to put a little bit of water into the bowl, and then flush the whole works down into the tank. It's important that you put a little water down into the tank with the chemical. The chemical needs water to activate it. So do that after every time you dump your holding tanks, and you should be good until the next time you have to dump. There's also a little sprayer inside here, just for spraying out the bowl of the toilet. Not really anything special about that, but don't forget to winterize it. It's another one of those things that could easily be forgotten about when it comes to winterizing. I missed a couple of switches here. This is in relation to your hot water tank again. So to run your hot water tank on propane, we'll use this switch right here. And we just heard it fire up. I'm not going to leave it. I'm not going to leave it run because that tank isn't full of water. I think it probably has some water in it, but it's certainly not full. And you also have the ability to run your hot water tank on electricity. So by turning that on, it activates the 110 volt heating element in the tank. You can run the tank on electricity. Obviously, when you're at a site plugged in with full power hookups, you'll probably find though that you get faster recovery time with gas. So during peak demand in the morning when people are showering, that sort of thing, you'll want to run the tank on gas. I think for the most part that covers it. If you have any questions, you can always get a hold of us here at Trailblazer RV or visit our website. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've learned something about the 2007 Triple E Topaz 305 RLXL. Thanks.